Hello, welcome to my video about writing files in Databricks using Spark. So in this video, we're basically reading some files and then writing them out to DBFS in CSV as well as Parquet, since they're pretty commonly used. So why am I making a video about CSV and Parquet? Well, this is a pretty good example because in industry we have a lot of users that work with CSV extracts, which are a human readable format, and they're very commonly used when you work with Excel spreadsheets. And Parquet is used heavily inside data warehouses and data lakes. So, like I said, CSV, it's very human readable, it's a lot more human friendly than Parquet is. And you can process the data in CSV files in Excel. And you can also export Excel spreadsheets as CSV. But it's not suitable for large data sets. Eventually your data sets can get very big, but they won't fit inside an Excel spreadsheet as easily or any other spreadsheet software. So that's when you'd want to take a look at using a data format that's native to big data. So Parquet is actually a standard big data format. It stores everything in columns. So if you don't need to look at this particular column, then you don't have to select it, and it's going to return a lot faster. It's going to return your results a lot faster. So it can skip over the columns that you don't need. And that's important because a lot of these cloud-based query engines these days, they charge based on either how much data they have scanned to find what you're looking for, or the amount of time that they spend scanning through the files to find what you're looking for. So if we can skip over any folders or files that we don't need to look at, we will definitely see savings in time and therefore money. So Delta Lake actually builds on top of the Parquet format, and we'll take a look at Delta tables too, just in this video. Okay, so here what we're doing, I'm just going to kick off this cell, just run it, and I'll explain what it's doing. So in this cell, we are taking a look at the flight departure delays dataset again. So we're reading in the CSV file, we're setting the option for the header to true, and then we are calling load on where it is located in DBFS. Now, this is something that I didn't go through in the last video, but here we have delays.df, which is our data frame here, and we're calling a write on it. And then we are saying the format which we want to write to. Here we have a mode called overwrite. That basically says if there's anything that's already in the location that we're trying to save it at, I want you to wipe it clean and put this data there instead. So that's what that does. And now we are saving it to this location. And it's there. Now, how do we know it's there? Well, you know what? Why don't we try and read in the same data again? So here in the next cell, we say we have a data frame called Parquet delays, denoting the Parquet format that we just wrote to. We say spark.read format, and here we're going to specify exactly the same location that we just wrote to in the previous cell. So if we read that in, and then we hit the display method on the Parquet delays data frame, what we will see is basically that data frame that we had just reload. So just to recap, we read in the CSV file, we then went ahead and saved it in a location as Parquet, like so, and then we read in that Parquet file again, and then we displayed it. Now, suppose we want to write that back to CSV. So we want to go from CSV to Parquet, and then from Parquet to CSV again. This is how we do that. We say Parquet delays, we say write, and then we say we specify the format, and then we save the location again, or we specify a location where to save to. So this would actually fail because there could be a bunch of data there already. But what I'll do is I'm just going to specify. Oh, let's just see what happens. It could fail, and I might have a reason as to why. But let's just see. Yes, so there we go. I knew it was going to fail. So it said path, this dbfs this file already exists. So something that I didn't do for this, which I did for a previous cell, was actually specify the mode, and then we'll say overwrite. And this, if we run this again, we shouldn't get the error now, because it's going to overwrite whatever's there. And there we go. It's done. It wrote. Cool. So the next part of this video, I want to take this CSV data and I'm going to write it to the Delta format. And the Delta format's important because that's a format that's native to the Databricks runtime, and it has a bunch of benefits such as gives you the ability to query the data in your data lake like a database. So if you are working with Databricks and you're building a bunch of tables that are going to be used for dashboards or for any type of analytics, then I'd recommend creating Delta tables. So what we'll do now is, I'm going to write this Parquet delays data frame, since it's already loaded in memory, to the Delta format. So how we'll do that is we'll say, Parquet delays dot write, and we will say dot format Delta, and then we say mode, and then we'll say overwrite again in case there's something there, and then we'll say as table, and then we will specify a database, and then we will say a table name. The table name, we're going to say Delta delays, and we will run this. Okay, so I got this method wrong. I'm pretty sure it's save as table. There we go. I always get that mixed up, and so go run that as save as table, and that should be fine. Don't mind the poodle in the background. And there we go, that finished. So now what we'll do, just to show you that the data actually exists there, we're going to run a little SQL command to read that data. So we'll go select from data tribe, this is my database, and then go delta delays, and we will run this. And there we go, we can see the data here in the database. And so very quickly, I'm just going to go through one more thing, which is just what the real difference between Parquet and Delta is. So I'm not going to dive into too much detail, but just to give you all a little bit of a clue. So we'll go into File Store, and then we'll take a look at our tables, into our data sets, into our writing data examples, and we have our lathes. And here what we've done is we have written a bunch of files, and these are all Parquet files. It's a little bit difficult to see, but if we click on one of them, we will be able to see that they are, copy the path, if we copy the path of that data, and then if we paste it here, because I couldn't really show the end, we can see that it is a Parquet file. So that's the data that we were reading for the Parquet example. Now, what I want to do is I also want to try and show you the database that we created. So we inside of, the table we created. So inside of the data tribe database, we can see the delta delays, and that is our database. Here we go. So this tells us there were 8 files that were written. It was the created time, the last modified time, the schema, the size of the file, and yeah, and a bit of this and the sample data as well. Cool. That's it for this video on writing files to DBFS. Thanks. See you in the next video.